The following audio may contain the personal testimonials of some OPTAVIA coaches or clients of OPTAVIA. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the OPTAVIA team.
Everybody, to our Habits of Health webinar. I am Susan Pallas. I'm a certified OPTAVIA coach and delighted and very honored to be your host tonight. OPTAVIA's mission is lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. And this call is for OPTAVIA clients, coaches, health professionals, and anyone looking to move forward with their health. So this call will be recorded, and in 48 hours, it'll be up on our YouTube channel. You can search Habits of Health Zoom or on your favorite podcast channel. So I wanted to share with you also that this information we're going to be talking about tonight is in Dr. A's Habits of Health and the Living a Longer, Healthier Life Companion Guide. So this is where we get our information. So I'm excited to be here. We all put in the chats where you guys are from, and put a 1 if this is your first time you're on live. Barely hear me. I gotcha. Can you hear me now? Oh, the Woodlands. Ooh, San Diego, Indiana. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. So our topic tonight is NEAT. We're going to talk about what NEAT is, why it's important to us, and how we can incorporate it into our lives. I've got some amazing guests, 2 amazing guests, who are going to take this topic really deep and how much little things we can do in our lives make such a huge difference. So what is NEAT? Non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And that's just a fancy old word for the things we can do every day in our lives. What are the things we do to move our body and to start a habit? And one of the things that for me, when I first started back in college or in high school, I was not very athletic. Now I'm a rah-rah health coach and I'm all, very lively about what I do in health. But I wasn't. I was a girl who hid behind the tree so I wouldn't have to run the mile. And it was so, I just didn't like it. But when I went to college, I lived on the, I think, 7th floor in my dorm. And every day, up and down, I would take the stairs. And that started me on not only, it started a habit, but it started me having an identity of a healthy person. And people knew when we got done with lunch or dinner, if they were going to walk with me, we were going the stairs. So not only these little habits, I just heard a great quote that little hinges swing big doors, and the little things we do in our lives can make a huge difference. So one of our mottos in OPTAVIA is one positive step forward leads to another. And that's what NEAT does. So what is NEAT? These are, Dr. A in his book talks about 6 success NEAT habits. So they're standing or stance, which is our posture. And just by taking your shoulders back, just by drawing your belly in, we can burn calories, we can activate our muscles. And standing, I'm standing now. I made this desk, but a lot of people have these standing desks now. I'm really jealous because my other part's really low. So strolling, walking, stairs, like I said, that really started me on my path. Samba, dancing. I don't watch the news anymore while I'm cooking dinner. I put on music, and there is no way that I can just stand still. So if you would put in the chat some of your favorite music, that when you put it on, it just gets you going, gets you moving. And then switch. What are the things we can do, like mow the lawn, rake the leaves instead of using the blower? So there's different things that we can do in our everyday life. So what other NEAT kind of activities do you guys do? Put it in the chat. Oh, look, pop, Michael Jackson, Zumba, love it. Yeah. Bruno Mars, exactly. So if you want to get to start a habit, one of the ways we can start a new habit is by tracking. So in Dr. A, if you visit, it's in Appendix D in Dr. A's Habits of Health. He's got these nifty little tracking sheets where you can set neat goals and you can just see what and track your results. The best way to start a new habit is to start tracking. So that's and then this habit that we keep doing. One of the things also is many people aren't ready to start exercising. You know, if anyone has any cardiac issues, you don't want to start huffing and puffing with a lot of extra weight. So on your weight loss journey, using neat activities and then tracking them to actually see how many calories we burn will help us to, one, create a new habit and move into a formal exercise program. So thanks for everybody. Thanks for putting in the chat, swimming, yes. I'm gonna bring on my first guest. And what I loved, I saw her, one of her posts, and she was at a coffee shop and she was standing. And so I'm doing this topic. So I'm like, will you please share? Megan Valentine has been a coach for 5 years with her husband, Dan, and they have a big business. They have 3 kids, 2 houses, probably some dogs running around. And with all of that, she's coming on here because I know she'll inspire you. Her story is so valuable because for her, need is not just burning some extra calories. Megan, would you please share with us?
Yeah. Hi, Susan. Thank you so much for asking me to be on. I hope to be an encouragement to some people tonight because, you know, let's be honest, there are people probably that are here tonight or that will hear this later, and they're at the place right now where exercise is not a reality for them. So for me, this started like a few years ago where I started to have massive kind of hip pain and back pain, and it kind of grew like worse and worse and worse. And to the point where I have kind of like 2 bulging discs on top of a herniated disc. And so I just deal with chronic pain literally kind of almost every single day. And I've done like years of physical therapy, gone to the chiropractors, done all the things, and I'm still in pursuit of that healing because I get one life to live. And, you know, yes, I can hear my kids and dogs in the background. That's okay. But always in movement, right? And here's the thing is I'm in pursuit of that healing, but currently right now they're like, you can't go to the gym and work out at those classes. You can't use those machines. You can't do that. So I have to ask myself, what can I do? And what I learned a couple years ago when my daughter, she started doing cheer, and she had worked really hard for months and months and months. And then the week of the first game, she dislocated her knee really bad. And this was a new experience for us as a family. And for me as like a mom, I was like, oh my gosh, right? And so I was like, put ice on it, keep it still, don't do anything. We're going to get you to the right doctor. So I finally get her in, and they were like, well, what have you been doing? And I was like, nothing. I've been making sure that like we're not, you know, going to ruin it or make it worse. And the doctor was like, that's really the worst thing you can do. And I was like, awesome. Mom of the year. Okay. So this is what she said though. She said, motion brings healing. Healing comes through motion and movement. And so that's what this whole principle is. And so for me, like what I do currently is the standing desk is huge. Like I'm in the middle of writing a book. And so I need periods of time where I can work, but I can't sit for longer than probably 20 minutes or so, even with fluffy pillows and all the things. And so I go to a certain coffee house that has a whole standing bar, and I walk a little and then I write a little, and then I walk a little and then I write a little. I am a health coach. I spend a lot of time on the phone, right? So I intentionally take a lot of those phone calls and spend time walking outside. I'll take the dog on a walk. I have to constantly be changing positions, but it's a real mindset decision. It's kind of like I make this mental shift to say every 20, 30 minutes. And even in the same way that we do with our physical health. And when we're starting, maybe you're in your first couple weeks, I encourage all my clients in the first couple weeks, set an alarm that's going to remind you to take that water, right? Or remind you to eat that food. I also encourage you, even if you get the new like Apple Watch or the Fitbit, you can have an alarm every 30 minutes that just says breathe, move, right? Unfortunately, these are things that we forget and we don't do. I live in Phoenix and I have to drive a lot. Like the average day is like 2 to 4 hours by the time you add up all the school trips, the cheerleading, the other kid going to dance, all the things happening, right? So I am intentional. So say I drive 20 minutes there, I get there 10 minutes early so that I can get out of the car, I can stretch, I can maybe do a couple laps. I'm super intentional with my stretching, right? So that I figure out what can I do. And some of us, we just needed that hope tonight that there's something we can do. So that's what I would encourage you with is these kind of principles in chapter 15 are giving you the ability to figure out what you can do. There are little decisions, intentional things throughout the day that make a huge difference. And if you do them long enough, they become habits. You get intentional about your, the way that you sit, the way that you walk, the way that you stand. You start to really recognize and listen to your body. What is causing me pain? What is really helping me? Sometimes I even have to take like a pain journal and I'll be able to say, wow, these are the stretches that are really helping me. These are the ones that are not, and kind of be intentional. And I'm young. Okay. We're not going to say that I'm turning 40 this year, but if I were, okay, I still am really young. And my whole point is that I'm not going to stop pursuing figuring out how to find healing for, yes, this one thing that's happening, but isn't there always something happening in our body? But it's that decision to constantly be in that next level of pursuit of our health that really makes a difference. And these neat motions and principles and ideas are things each and every one of us can find ways to implement in kind of big and small ways. And they've made a big difference for me. So tomorrow I go for a spinal nerve block. So I will take prayers appreciated that would cause some pain relief, inflammation down, because I'm ready to go back to that next level of movement. But I got to kind of do this first. So I hope for all of you, no matter what it is that's slowing you down, don't let it stop you, because healing comes through motion and movement. So there you go, Susan. Thanks so much for letting me share.
Perfect. I have a question for you, because so many people, what gives you that courage and strength to do it when you are in pain, and you plan your life around fitting this in? And because NEAT is so easy to do, it's also easy not to do.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what's that mindset around it?
So for me, maybe if you don't know me, I'm a little bit of a fireball. Okay. And so I try to use things as fuel. So the things that could take me down and be my excuses. And I even thought currently about just writing like a little 30-day kind of, inspirational thing for people dealing with chronic pain, because I have to do a lot of positive self-talk, right? That stop, challenge, choose in my mental exercise to say, is this going to be my excuse today? Because I have a valid excuse. I even have a doctor's note really that says I don't need to do anything today. But here's the deal is I get one life to live, and I want it to be one long, full life. And I do not want pain to be my excuse or reason to hold me back from doing the things I want to do, getting out there and adventuring and using this health and freedom and being the kind of mom I want to be. And so I know that my choices today to choose movement are going to free me up to have a better tomorrow.
That is so powerful. Put a 9 in the chat if you're just so inspired. And don't we all know somebody dealing with chronic pain? And wouldn't just a little bit of movement and the hope that Megan offered help? And so if you know somebody who has chronic pain, would you please pass this recording on to them? Really would appreciate it. And it's something that could change their life. So your story has changed mine, and just hearing you. So, no excuses, none. And the obstacle, the obstacle is the way. So thank you for demonstrating that. So thanks. Our next guest is someone near and dear to my heart, Alan Hilton. Alan was a professor at Yale University. He's a pastor at 3 churches. And in 2016, he's just started his own nonprofit organization called House United. And it's about helping people come together, teaching skills and communication skills for people that are on both sides of the political party spectrum. How do we come together and be one? And his wife, Liz, has been coaching for 5 years. He has been always supportive and been a part of it. But lately, he's taken a bigger role. And I think that when we spoke a while ago, when he started taking this bigger role, you know, one thing he said that spoke to me was health is a big equalizer. That everybody can value. It doesn't matter what race, color, political party you're in, health is some place that everybody can come together. And I remember when we started working together, he was my client, and he would always take the stairs in between his classes. So I know he's in between classes tonight, like Megan, so busy, 2 kids, 3, you know, organizations, and it's really wonderful. Thank you, Alan, for coming on. And would you share with us about your experience with NEAT activities?
Very delighted to get to talk to you tonight about lifestyle walking. And I talk to you about this because I found out in my life that I was leaving a big chasm between exercise and not exercise. That I was either sedentary or I was sweating it all out in the gym, and I didn't have any space for anything between those two. And the epiphany, the change for me, happened, oddly enough, in a sermon that I gave to a suburban church in Minnesota. I was trying to figure out, how do I help these people get out of themselves and sort of decenter so that the other person being more and more important. And of course, that's every pastor's, every faithful person's hope, is that we become servants of others, that we become for other people. And so I was trying to look for an illustrator of that, and I decided to call everybody on the fact that they park closest to the church whenever they can. They don't think about the other people, the visitors who might come in late. And so I challenged the congregation in a sermon, next time you come to church, park far away, and as you do, think about the people who are going to be better off because you do it. Which is great. It's self-sacrifice on behalf of the other. But you know what I got back from people is, you know, it felt good to exercise a little before church. And of course, being unable to stay hypocritical about that, I started parking away and felt the same thing. And then I started parking away everywhere I went because I'm a busy guy. And I thought, well, at least I can get some steps in. And this was early Fitbit days. So my introduction to lifestyle walking came because I challenged a congregation to be self-sacrificial, and oddly enough, it ended up helping me, right? It helped me to realize all the different places in my life where I could insert exercise and break down that distance between sedentary and going all out in a gym, right? So the first stop is a parking lot at a church in Minnesota. And by the way, if you park far away from, you may have been seeing some of the temperatures listed for Minnesota, the state of Minnesota in the last few weeks. If you park far away from anything in Minnesota, you gotta want it because it is cold in Minnesota. And these people did it and they actually liked it, and I did it and I liked it. So one step forward happened in a parking lot in Minnesota. The second epiphany came when my family and I, in 2014, had a sabbatical in England. We lived in a town just outside Oxford, England. And when we got there, we expected a lot of cultural difference. It's England, but it's still different languages, you know, different words for different things. We knew that we were going to be driving on the other side of the road. We expected all kinds of differences. But the one that struck me that I didn't expect is how much of a walking culture we ran into there. I went to the golf course. My son and I golfed a lot on that sabbatical, and carts were very hard to find because nobody used them. I go to golf courses in the United States, and very fit people who worked out earlier that day will not walk because they have a cart, right? There were not even sidewalks, but people were walking long ways to the village storefronts and to the village grocery store. And we, as a family, just found ourselves doing that. We walked most of the places that we went Not because we didn't have a car, and not even because it was hard to drive on the other side, but because we kind of liked it. We fit in, we as in Rome did. We as in Rome do as the Romans do. And the Hiltons found that we liked it. And we were walking a lot more steps. I didn't have a Fitbit then, but we were walking a lot more steps than we had ever walked as a part of lifestyle. We had walked on purpose as separate exercise, but this was the between time. And what we discovered there is that our lives were better because we did that. So you and I have clients who are absolutely flummoxed by the fact that they're not supposed to exercise hard during their weight loss period, right? Put a 1 in the chat if you've run into that as a coach. Somebody who thinks getting smaller, losing weight is all about exercising, and you tell them, I'm sorry, you need to stop that hard exercise during this time, right? That's one of the conundrums of our job. What I found over these years, and I started to have meetings on walks, I started to do all these different things on walks. What I've discovered is that it helps clients to build a base of habitual lifestyle walking. Because then when they get to transition and when they get to the next phases of their health growth, they have this bedrock habit. So that if they're ever deprived of exercise equipment, or if they're ever a traveling salesman, or anything they do, they get to have this for the rest of their lives. So talk your clients into lifestyle walking, and you will leave them a legacy that will remain even after they get back to the gym, even after they return to that marathon training, even after they start pumping irons. Lifestyle walking is a way to stay healthy when all other ways fail. So that's my advertisement for it. I wish you well as you try in your own life, and as you pass on to your clients this habit of finding walking where it can be found. Hi, Susan.
Thank you. That was awesome. Thank you, Alan. You know, you said so much, and I love what you said about it being a foundation for people, for anyone looking to better their health, create a foundation. And I just laugh with, you know, working at the gym and then taking a golf cart. And I have to say, I am one, when I'm looking for that front parking space, my husband goes, aren't you a health coach? Like, you know, and I'm always driving around real close, and I feel a little bit guilty. So now I'm even more inspired to park far away. And I do not live in Minnesota. So you are right. Yes. All right. So we're wrapping up. I want to, what is neat, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, lifestyle activities that you can do. Standing up, using your posture, walking stairs, walking, dancing, moving your body. It feels good. To Megan's point, it's healing. It's giving her life. It's giving her breath. It's giving her, you know, so many things so that she's available for a lot of people, her family, clients, us tonight. And then as a coach, teaching our clients how to, again, I love it to Alan, do what the Romans do. Look at other people, look at other cultures and how they walk. And then how do we incorporate, I love what these wonderful, our guests shared with us, how we fit it into our everyday life. So David, do you have anything else you want to add?
Thanks, Susan. I'd love to see it from the chat message, just what your best takeaway was from tonight's presentation. Something that Megan said, or was it something that Alan or Susan said? What's your big takeaway for this week? And maybe you could write something in the chat, and then you could also write that down to communicate that with your coach and let them know that you picked up something from the Habits of Health webinar tonight, and you're going to work on the NEAT principle. Inside the chat message, we've shared some simple resources from the appendix of Dr. A's Habits of Health book You can use those resources as a form of tracking. You can use it as part of your structural attention chart that you're doing with your coach to help you to create health and well-being. So I see some things coming across the chat message: lifestyle walking, stop, challenge, and choose. I think that Alan and Megan and you did a great job of inspiring them. So, you know, Susan, as a former fitness instructor, and you're doing all the stuff that you're doing, what would you say would be one thing that would be a major catalyst? You've been coaching people for a long time. When it comes down to NEAT, would you say that there's one thing that somebody could do to remind them to get NEAT in? Because you said it's so simple to do and it's so simple not to do. Any little reminders that you could give people?
Oh, thank you, David. Yes, for me, it's about standing up. Megan talked about it when, you know, on the phone, and or keeping what I used to do. I don't have one here, but I kept a weight beside my, you know, just a little 1-pounder. And so when I'm on the phone, I mean, just picking up the weight, but the posture is the biggest thing. My best tip is turning my thumbs out. And if you do that, you're activating your back muscles. If you can do it in line, if you can do it while you're sitting in a chair, it really, rolling our shoulders back not only opens our heart and helps us breathe better, but it also activates the back muscles and it burns more calories. And just getting us feeling, I think anything we do to get ourselves feeling like a healthier person goes a long way.
Great stuff. Well, okay, now comes the quiz time. This is one of those things, if we're going to become healthier people, what is the 6 S's that Dr. Anderson shares in chapter 14 and 15 of the Habits of Health book? Let's see them in the chat message. Do you remember what the 6 S's of non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or the NEAT principle? So we have stance is number 1. Good job. We've got Cheryl throwing the next one. That was stroll, or standing, I think, is the second one in the actual book. What's the next one? Does everybody got it? Stroll. So taking more steps and doing what Alan was doing. And then what was the next one after stroll? I think that it was the one that Susan claimed was her great NEAT habit, which was the stairs. I love this fact. This is actually in chapter 14 and 15. It talks about if you take 100 steps up an elevation, so 10 steps up an elevation, if you do that 10 times, so 100 steps up an elevation, it's the equivalent in terms of exercise or energy expenditure as walking a half a mile on a flat surface. I thought that was kind of amazing, because oftentimes, you know, and I'm in Iowa, so I'm just south of Allen, and we're in tough winter time right now. So people just cannot get outside and get the steps in. And so I said, hey, do you have 1 step in your house? Could you go up and down that step 100 times? That's walking a half a mile. So you're burning some significant calories. So stairs was the 4th one. The next one was samba, and Megan's a good samba dancer. I think that she knows how to make it happen. Come on. Yep. And Alan, I know he knows how to dance, and he just, you know, gets it rocking and rolling. He just does the twist, I think, is what his thing is. And then the final one was switch. Turn off that technology. Wash the dishes by hand and do all those great things. So any final comments, Megan or Alan? Do you have any takeaways before we wrap up tonight's Habits of Health webinar?
I was just going to say, nope, you heard it all. And so now it's just about kind of putting it in action, putting it in motion. Maybe a little homework for tonight would be just to take out your calendar, take a look at your day tomorrow, and figure out what can you do tomorrow, and put some cues out there. Dr. A always talks about, right? He puts his workout shoes next to his bed so that it's the first thing he sees, and it triggers that reminder, and that's his cue. So tonight, set yourself up some cues. Go write some little notes, put it next to the coffee machine or wherever you zombie walk in the morning to be your reminder of what you're going to actually put in place.
Great. Alan?
I would sort of piggyback on what Megan said about setting your Apple Watch or your Fitbit, because mine makes me do 250 steps every hour, and that's not very much, but it makes me move at least that much every hour. And so if you've got one, use it. And you can set those alarms or those reminders, and it will get you going when you have been sitting for a while.
Great. Susan, you want to go ahead and wrap it up?
Yes. Yes, thank you all for coming. Thanks to our guests, Alan and Megan. Thanks for sharing with us, and thanks for all who tuned in live. Eager for those people who you send this to get a look at what we have to offer at OPTAVIA. Changing lives one healthy habit at a time. Good night, everybody.
This audio may have contained the personal testimonials of some OPTAVIA coaches or clients of OPTAVIA. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the OPTAVIA team.